All right, so today we are going to be doing a deep dive into the world of cancer immunotherapy. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Ipilimumab and Nivolumab. And you've shared with me an article from Assay Genie, and it really kind of breaks down this whole concept. But I think what's really fascinating is that for so long, the main weapons that we've had against cancer have been surgery, radiation, chemotherapy. But this is like a completely different approach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is really a paradigm shift
Mm-hmm.
in how we treat cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long, we've been focused on, attacking the cancer cells directly
Mm.
with things like chemo and radiation. But immunotherapy is really about harnessing the power of the body's own immune system to fight the cancer.
Giving your body's natural defenses like a turbo boost. But before we get into like how these drugs work, let's just start with the basics. What exactly are Ipilimumab and Nivolumab?
So they're both what we call monoclonal antibodies,
Okay.
which might sound a little intimidating, but it's actually a pretty straightforward concept. So basically, you can think of these antibodies as highly specialized soldiers that are trained to seek out and bind to very specific targets in the body.
So like guided missiles with a very specific mission.
Exactly. And in this case, their mission is to target a protein called CTLA-4. And this protein plays a crucial role in regulating the immune response, especially when it comes to T cells.
Right, because T cells, those are the warriors of the immune system, right?
Exactly.
They're the ones that go around identifying and destroying these invaders like viruses and cancer cells.
Yeah, T cells are like
Okay.
the special forces of the immune system. They're the ones that are trained to recognize and eliminate threats.
And they're really good at it too. But our immune systems are incredibly powerful, so I'm guessing there needs to be some kind of control mechanism in place.
Right, exactly. And the immune system is incredibly powerful. And if it's not kept in check, it can actually cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
The body's own tissues.
Makes sense. So it's like a checks and balances system to prevent the immune system from going rogue.
Yeah, and that's where CTLA-4 comes in. It acts like a brake pedal on the immune response. So it prevents the T cells from going into overdrive and attacking healthy tissues.
So it's like a safeguard to make
Yes.
sure that the immune system doesn't accidentally turn on us. But how does this all tie back to cancer?
Well, cancer cells are very sneaky. They've actually evolved ways to exploit this safety mechanism to their advantage.
What? So they're using our own defenses against us?
Exactly. They can actually hijack CTLA-4
Mm.
and trick the immune system into thinking that everything is fine.
While they're multiplying and spreading like crazy.
Exactly. So they're essentially putting the immune system to sleep while they're wreaking havoc.
Wow, that is devious. So they're like these master manipulators.
Seek out.
But that's where Ipilimumab comes in, right?
Exactly.
It's designed to block CTLA-4
Yeah.
and release that brake pedal.
Right. So the T cells can wake up and go after those cancer cells.
I mean, this drug was the first of its kind to get FDA approval back in 2011, right?
It was, yeah.
That must have been a huge deal.
Yeah, it was a really big deal. Because before Ipilimumab, the idea of using the immune system
Huh.
to fight cancer was kind of considered a fringe concept.
Oh.
So yeah, it was definitely a watershed moment in cancer research.
It must have been so exciting for researchers to see this new approach finally gain recognition after years of work.
It was. It really opened the floodgates for a whole new wave of research into immune checkpoint inhibitors. And speaking of which, we should probably talk about Nivolumab, which targets a different immune checkpoint called PD-1.
Okay, so if CTLA-4 is one brake pedal on the immune system, PD-1 is another.
Exactly. And just like with Ipilimumab, blocking PD-1 with Nivolumab releases those brakes and allows the T cells to mount a more effective attack against the tumor.
So is there a reason why you would target one versus the other?
Well, it really depends on the specific type of cancer and the patient's individual situation. But what's really interesting is what happens when you combine the two drugs.
You mean use both Ipilimumab and Nivolumab together? Is that what's known as combination therapy?
Yeah.
And the article mentions that this combination approach can be more effective than using either drug alone, especially for certain types of cancer. So it's not just a simple case of doubling the dose.
No, it's not that simple. It's really about strategically targeting multiple pathways to unleash the full potential of the immune system.
So it's about playing a smarter game, not just a stronger one.
Exactly.
And I imagine this approach has opened up new possibilities for treating a wider range of cancers.
It definitely has. Yeah, it has. And in fact, the article specifically mentions some promising results in non-small cell lung cancer and renal cell carcinoma, which are both notoriously difficult to treat And it seems like melanoma, being a particularly immunogenic type of cancer, responds quite well to this combination therapy as well.
That's right, and that's because melanoma cells tend to have a lot of mutations which make them really stand out to the immune system. It's like they're wearing bright, flashing neon signs that scream, "Attack me!"
Exactly. And that's why immunotherapy has been particularly successful in treating melanoma. But what's really interesting is that we're starting to see positive results in other cancers that might not be as immunogenic as melanoma, like certain types of colorectal cancer.
Right, the article mentions something called MSI-high colorectal cancer. What exactly does that mean?
So MSI stands for microsatellite instability, and it basically refers to a high number of DNA mutations within the tumor cells.
Okay.
Now you might think, well, more mutations sound like a bad thing, and in many cases you'd be right. But when it comes to immunotherapy, these mutations can actually be an advantage.
So it's like those mutations are creating more of those flashing neon signs that make the cancer cells more visible to the immune system.
That's a great analogy, and that's why researchers are particularly excited about the potential of immunotherapy for treating MSI-high colorectal cancer.
This is all incredibly promising. But I have to ask, what about the potential downsides? We're talking about unleashing the immune system, which is incredibly powerful. Are there risks involved?
There are. You have to remember that the immune system is a double-edged sword. When it's working properly, it protects us from all sorts of threats. But when it goes awry, it can also turn against our own bodies, leading to what we call immune-related adverse events.
So it's like those overzealous soldiers might accidentally start attacking healthy tissues.
Exactly. And that's why careful monitoring and management of side effects are crucial in immunotherapy.
So are there any common side effects that patients should be aware of?
Yeah, the article mentions some common side effects, like fatigue, diarrhea, and skin rashes. But in some cases, these immune-related adverse events can be more severe and require intervention.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act, activating the immune system enough to fight the cancer effectively, but not so much that it causes significant harm to the patient.
It is, and that's one of the big challenges in immunotherapy, finding that sweet spot between efficacy and safety.
So it's about fine-tuning the immune response,
Exactly.
making it more precise
Right.
and less prone to causing collateral damage.
Exactly.
And that's where the next generation of immunotherapy drugs is heading,
Yes,
towards greater precision and personalization.
that's right.
Speaking of personalization, let's circle back to biosimilars, which we touched on earlier. The article mentions that Assay Genie, the company behind this research, offers an Ipilimumab biosimilar for research purposes. Can you remind us what biosimilars are and why they're so important in this context?
Sure. Biosimilars are essentially highly similar versions of existing biologic drugs, like Ipilimumab. They're not exact replicas, but they're designed to have the same safety and efficacy profile as the original drug.
So they're like the generic versions of those brand name drugs we see advertised on TV, but for immunotherapy.
That's a good way to think about it.
And just like with generic drugs, biosimilars have the potential to significantly reduce the cost of treatment. So this is a huge win for patients, especially considering how expensive many cancer treatments are.
Absolutely.
But why are they only being used for research purposes right now? What are the hurdles to getting them approved for clinical use?
Well, biosimilars are complex molecules, and demonstrating their similarity to the original biologic drug requires rigorous testing and regulatory scrutiny.
Right, because it's not just a matter of copying the recipe.
Exactly.
You have to prove that the biosimilar behaves in essentially the same way as the original drug in terms of safety, efficacy,
And even how it's processed by the body.
So it's about ensuring that these biosimilars are truly interchangeable with the original drugs without any compromise on quality or effectiveness.
Exactly.
And while this rigorous testing process can take time, it's crucial for ensuring patient safety and building trust in these biosimilar medications.
It is.
But the good news is that regulatory pathways for biosimilars are becoming more streamlined, which is paving the way for faster approvals and greater access to these affordable alternatives.
That's right.
Now, this Assay Genie article has given us a great overview of Ipilimumab and Nivolumab. But I'm curious about the bigger picture. What are some of the other exciting developments happening in the field of immunotherapy?
Oh, there are so many. I mean, this field is absolutely exploding with research, and we're seeing breakthroughs happening at an incredible pace.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, one area that's particularly fascinating is the development of personalized cancer vaccines.
Wait, cancer vaccines? Like the vaccines that can actually prevent cancer?
Well, not quite. These personalized cancer vaccines are designed to treat existing cancers by training the immune system to recognize and attack specific tumor cells.
So it's like giving your immune system a personalized hit list, tailored to your specific cancer.
Exactly.
Wow. So how do these vaccines work?
Well, they're created by taking a sample of the patient's tumor and identifying the unique proteins or antigens that are specific to those cancer cells.
Okay.
And then these antigens are used to create a personalized vaccine that's injected back into the patient, essentially teaching their immune system to recognize and destroy those specific tumor cells.
So it's like giving the immune system a crash course in identifying and eliminating the enemy.
Exactly.
That sounds incredibly futuristic.
It is pretty amazing.
But I imagine there are still some challenges to overcome before these personalized cancer vaccines become widely available.
Yeah, of course. Developing and manufacturing personalized vaccines is a complex process, and it's still relatively expensive. But as research progresses and technology advances, we can expect these treatments to become more accessible and affordable.
It's remarkable to think about how far we've come in just a few decades, from the initial skepticism surrounding immunotherapy to the development of these cutting-edge personalized treatments.
Yeah, it really is a paradigm shift.
And it's not just about cancer, is it?
No, it's not.
Researchers are exploring the potential of immunotherapy for treating a wide range of other diseases, from autoimmune disorders to infectious diseases.
Exactly.
So could these same principles of immune modulation be applied to other conditions, where the immune system is either overactive or underactive?
Exactly. For example, in autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, the immune system mistakenly attacks the body's own tissues. So immunotherapy could potentially help to dampen that overactive immune response and prevent further damage.
So instead of suppressing the immune system entirely, which is what many current treatments for autoimmune diseases do, immunotherapy could potentially reallocate it to tolerate those self-antigens.
That's the hope. It's a complex challenge, but it's an area of research that holds immense promise for treating a wide range of debilitating autoimmune conditions.
It's incredible to think about the potential of this field to transform medicine as we know it. It feels like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with immunotherapy.
I agree. Every new discovery opens up a whole new world of possibilities. And what's really exciting is that this research is not just happening in ivory towers, it's translating into real-world treatments.
Yeah.
They're making a tangible difference in people's lives.
That's what makes this whole field so compelling, the potential to not only extend lives, but also to improve the quality of life for people facing some of the toughest medical challenges. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of immunotherapy, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the future holds for this field.
Well, I think one of the most exciting frontiers is this concept of personalized medicine. We're moving away from this one-size-fits-all approach and towards treatments that are tailored to an individual's unique genetic makeup and immune profile.
So instead of just saying, here's the standard treatment for this type of cancer, doctors will be able to say, here's the treatment that's most likely to work for you,
Yeah.
based on your specific tumor and your body's immune response.
Exactly. Imagine being able to analyze a patient's tumor, identify the specific immune checkpoints that are being exploited by the cancer cells, and then select the immunotherapy drugs that are most likely to disengage those breaks for that individual.
That sounds incredibly precise, and I guess that level of personalization would also help to minimize side effects, since you're essentially fine-tuning the immune response to target only those cancer cells.
Right, exactly. And this is where the research on biosimilars becomes even more critical, because having more affordable options could really accelerate the development of these personalized therapies.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because if researchers have access to a wider range of immunotherapy drugs at a lower cost, they can conduct larger clinical trials, test different combinations, and really delve into the nuances of how these treatments work in different individuals.
Absolutely. And by analyzing the data from those trials, we can start to identify biomarkers that predict which patients are most likely to respond to certain therapies. And this will allow us to move towards a more data-driven approach to immunotherapy, ensuring that patients receive the treatments that are most likely to benefit them.
It's like taking all the guesswork out of treatment.
Yeah, it's about moving towards a more precise and predictable approach to cancer care.
But what about those patients who don't respond to the existing immunotherapy drugs? Is there hope for them?
Oh, there's always hope. Researchers are constantly identifying new immune checkpoints and developing drugs to target them. Some are already being tested in clinical trials, and it's likely that we'll see even more of these drugs hitting the market in the coming years.
It's like having a whole arsenal of weapons to deploy against cancer,
Exactly.
each one targeting a different vulnerability in the enemy's defenses.
That's right.
But the potential of immunotherapy goes far beyond cancer, doesn't it?
It does. Researchers are exploring its use in treating a wide range of other diseases, from autoimmune disorders to infectious diseases.
You mentioned earlier how immunotherapy could potentially dampen the overactive immune response in autoimmune diseases. Are there other ways it could be applied to these conditions?
Well, one exciting area of research is the development of tolerogenic vaccines. These vaccines are designed to induce immune tolerance to specific antigens, essentially teaching the immune system to ignore those targets instead of attacking them.
So could these tolerogenic vaccines potentially re-educate the immune system in patients with autoimmune diseases, preventing them from attacking their own tissues?
That's the goal, yeah. It's a complex challenge, but early research suggests that it's a possibility. And if it works, it could revolutionize the treatment of autoimmune diseases, offering a way to address the root cause of the problem, instead of just managing the symptoms.
That's amazing. It's remarkable to think about the potential of immunotherapy to transform medicine as we know it. It's a reminder that even in the face of complex diseases, our own bodies hold the key to healing.
And that's the beauty of immunotherapy, isn't it? It's about empowering the body to heal itself, guiding the immune system to fight disease in a smarter, more targeted way.
So what would you say is the one big takeaway you want our listener to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive?
I'd say this: the future of medicine is not just about fighting disease, but about understanding and harnessing the incredible power of our own immune systems. Immunotherapy is showing us that this isn't science fiction, it's becoming a reality.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring how Ipilimumab and Nivolumab are revolutionizing cancer treatment, and how ongoing research is paving the way for even more personalized and effective therapies in the future. We've also delved into the broader applications of immunotherapy for other diseases, highlighting the immense potential of this field to transform medicine as we know it.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope our listener comes away with a sense of awe and excitement about the possibilities that lie ahead.
I think they will. Thank you for joining us on this incredible exploration of the world of immunotherapy. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and those immune systems strong.